The skies above Guadalcanal erupt in chaos on August 7, 1942. 17 Japanese Zeros clash with a wall of American Wildcats and dauntless dive bombers. The air fills with the deafening roar of aircraft engines and the staccato of gunfire. Hiroyoshi Nishizawa, the Devil of Rabaul, is leading the charge for the Japanese, closely followed by his trusted wingman Saburo Sakai. Even among aces, Nishizawa's control is unmatched. His Zero responds to his touch like an extension of his body, each maneuver an exercise in precision. His aerobatics are breathtaking, brilliant, and nearly impossible. Nishizawa's keen eyes spot an opening in the American formation. Without hesitation, he pushes his Zero into a steep dive, cutting through the enemy ranks with astonishing speed and agility. 1, 2, 3 Wildcats fall to his guns in rapid succession. His fellow pilots watch in awe as he weaves through the battlefield, always one step ahead of his opponents. As Nishizawa pulls out of his dive, he realizes that Sakai's Zero is no longer on his wing. A quick scan of the sky confirms his growing dread. His friend is nowhere to be seen amidst the swirling melee. The Americans keep coming, wave after wave, threatening to overwhelm the Japanese squadron. Nishizawa's ammunition runs low, his fuel gauge dipping into the red. Yet there's still no sign of Sakai. Nishizawa faces a critical decision. The Devil of Rabaul must choose between returning to base with the rest of his dwindling squadron, or risk everything, his aircraft, his life, the mission, to search for his missing comrade. In the summer of 1936, a poster caught 16-year-old Hiroyoshi Nishizawa's eye, calling for volunteers to join the Yokarin, the Japanese Navy's Flight Reserve enlisted training program. Feeling drawn to the skies, the young man from a small mountain village seized the opportunity, and 3 years later, he emerged as a full-fledged pilot. Following the outbreak of the war, Nishizawa's squadron from the Chitose Air Group moved to Vunakanow Airfield on the newly captured island of New Britain, where they were slated to fly the outdated Mitsubishi A5M plane. Nishizawa's baptism by fire came on February 3, 1942. The rookie, aboard his A5M, joined 8 comrades in pursuit of 2 Royal Australian Air Force Catalinas. In the midst of battle, the pilot's bullets tore through one of the Catalina's engines, forcing it to limp back to base on a single engine. Unaware of the enemy's escape, the pilot claimed his first ever victory. A week later, Nishizawa took control of his first Mitsubishi A6M0. The cutting-edge fighter would soon become an extension of himself, transforming the 22-year-old into a true force to be reckoned with. On March 14th, as part of a dozen-strong Zero formation escorting bombers to Horn Island, American P-40 Warhawks ambushed them, and a furious dogfight ensued. Despite heavy losses on the Japanese side, Nishizawa and 2 wingmen claimed multiple enemy fighters. This was just the beginning of Nishizawa's impressive streak. Yet, because the Japanese military discouraged counting individual victories, and just like the French and Italians tallied wins for the air group, not for single pilots, the verification of personal claims by Japanese airmen could be hard to confirm. The truth could be devised only through post-war examinations of their letters and diaries, or the testimonies of their comrades who witnessed these incredible feats. Luckily for Nishizawa, he had many. As spring arrived, Nishizawa claimed a couple of downed American planes just as the Empire landed in northeastern New Guinea. Then, on April 1st, when the entire branch underwent a reorganization, Nishizawa was incorporated into the Tainan Air Group. From their new base in the jungle airstrip at the recently captured island of Leh, the Ternanku endured brutal living conditions. Yet they stood on the threshold of the theater's best hunting grounds, Port Moresby, an Allied hornet's nest, filled, lying only 180 miles away. 10 days later, the Flight of Zeros was making its return pass over Port Moresby when they sighted a quartet of Airacobras. Saburo Sakai, a combat-tested veteran, reacted swiftly, his wingman fanning out protectively as he expertly guided his Zero into prime attack position. Now, with his finger hovering over the trigger, he was ready to unleash fire on the 2 P-39s bringing up the rear. In a blink, the enemy plane spiraled out of control before Sakai could act, plummeting earthward, engulfed in fierce flames and trailing dense black smoke. Out of the chaos, Two Zeros from the team emerged from their dive. One piloted by Hiroyoshi Nishizawa, the other flown by fellow rookie Toshio Ota. At that moment, observing their flawless skill and seamless coordination, Sakai recognized he was flying alongside extraordinary talent. With the fight already won, before Sakai could even fire a shot, the veteran pilot adopted the younger Nishizawa and Ota, and the threesome became fast friends, known to the other pilots as the Cleanup Trio. With his seasoned experience, Sakai would mentor the pair and become the chroniclers of their extraordinary feats, meticulously recording their victories and daring maneuvers in his journal. In his writings, he described Nishizawa as a loner, a severe, thin young man who was also prone to illness. In the air, however, no one could beat the ace, stating, quote, "Never have I seen a man with a fighter plane do what Nishizawa would do with his Zero. His aerobatics were all at once breathtaking, brilliant, totally unpredictable, impossible, and heart-stirring to witness." For the next several weeks, while his unit found success in the skies, Nishizawa himself seemed to miss out on many opportunities. But on May 1st, 8 Zeros flying toward Port Moresby encountered a formation of over a dozen P-39s and P-40s cruising at 18,000 feet. True to form, the fearless Nishizawa was the first to spot the enemy. With precision, he led his comrades in a wide turn, positioning them for an attack from the left and rear. The Americans, caught completely off guard, lost the majority of planes before the survivors could dive away to safety. Upon returning to Leh, Nishizawa leapt from his cockpit as soon as his Zero halted, stretched his arms to the sky, and let out a triumphant cry, a rare sight for the usually reserved pilot. 2 weeks later, on May 15th, a group of North American B-25 Mitchell bombers swooped down on the Leh airbase, cratering the runway with their bombs. That night, as Nishizawa lounged with Ota and Sakai in the radio room, listening to a piece by Camille Saint-Saëns titled Danse Macabre inspired the ace to suggest a bold plan. He proposed that after completing the next day's strafing run at Moresby, the trio should return to the field and perform a series of daring demonstration loops right over the enemy's heads, a bold and taunting move meant to drive the ground forces mad. And while Ota and Sakai initially dismissed the idea as sheer madness, mainly due to fear of their commander's repercussions, Nishizawa's enthusiasm was infectious. Soon, the cleanup trio agreed to carry out the audacious plan. On May 17, 1943, the Tainan coup launched a mission to neutralize Port Moresby. The strafing run, however, soon turned into a swirling dogfight, where 5 P-39s were claimed by the Empire's men, including a double for Sakai and possible shared victories for Nishizawa. As the Japanese formation realigned for the return flight, Nishizawa, Ota, and Sakai broke away from the group, gesturing that they were pursuing an escaping enemy plane. Their true intentions, however, were far more audacious. Minutes later, the trio reappeared over Port Moresby, exchanging a series of quick hand signals and scanning the skies for any sign of Allied fighters. The three aces, in perfect synchronization, suddenly pulled their control sticks back, sending their Zeros into a tight vertical climb. As one, they rolled over the top and plunged downward, completing 3 breathtaking loops in close formation. The roar of their engines echoed across the American base below, a brazen taunt to their foes. Exhilarated by their feat, a grinning Nishizawa signaled his desire for an encore, and without hesitation, the trio dove to 6,000 feet once more, executing 3 more flawless loops, defying the anti-aircraft guns below to take a shot. Having completed their daring aerial ballet, the 3 Japanese aces finally turned their Zeros homeward, arriving at Leh a full 20 minutes after their unit had landed. That night, Sakai, Ota, and Nishizawa were summoned to their superior's office. Upon arrival, the enraged leader held up a letter, his expression stern as he informed them that it had just been dropped onto the base by an enemy aircraft. The letter, written in English, said, quote, "To the Leh commander, we were much impressed with those 3 pilots who visited us today, and we all liked the loops they flew over our field. It was quite an exhibition. We would appreciate it if the same pilots returned here once again, each wearing a green muffler around his neck. We're sorry we could not give them better attention on our last trip, but we will see to it that the next time they will receive an all-out welcome from us." Following this, the cleanup trio was reprimanded for what their superior called idiotic behavior and prohibited them from performing any more aerobatic shows over enemy airfields. Still, the three leading aces secretly agreed that their taunting aerial choreography had been well worth it. By mid-1942, Hiroyoshi Nishizawa had become a legend among Japanese pilots. His uncanny ability to spot enemy aircraft long before his comrades earned him the fearsome moniker, the Devil of Rabaul. Nishizawa's lethal skill in the skies continued to grow. On May 24th, his tally expanded when he led a fierce charge against B-25 Mitchells over Leh. His quick actions sent the lead bomber spiraling down in flames. In the same battle, Ota and Sakai also claimed their targets, leaving just one heavily damaged bomber limping back to base. Despite such dazzling successes, victory didn't always favor the Japanese. And as battles intensified, even Nishizawa faced daunting challenges. On August 2nd, when 5 B-17s bombarded Leh, the Japanese tried a new tactic, attacking head-on. The result was spectacular. Nishizawa's cannon shells tore into the first B-17, causing it to explode mid-air. Ota, Sakai, and Junichi Sasai also claimed bombers in the melee. However, amidst the triumph, tragedy struck. Enemy fire damaged Sakai's Zero and shot down Seaman First Class Yoshio Motoyoshi, Nishizawa's wingman. Upon landing, Nishizawa ignored the claps and cheers of his ground crew. Instead, he stayed only long enough to refuel his plane and reload his guns before setting out on a lone, desperate, and fruitless search for his lost comrade. On August 7th, alarming news reached the Japanese forces. U.S. Marines had stormed the beaches of Guadalcanal, over 500 miles away at the southern tip of the Solomon Islands chain. Wasting no time, 17 Zeros escorted 27 bombers in a daring strike against the U.S. Navy task force. But the Japanese met a wall of resistance, Wildcats and Dauntless dive bombers from American carriers. In this first major air battle, Nishizawa claimed 6 Wildcats. Sakai, however, faced a cruel fate. After diving into what he thought were 8 Wildcats, he realized too late they were SBDs of VB-6 and VS-5. Suddenly, a .30 caliber round from a rear gunner struck Sakai in the head, temporarily robbing him of his sight. As the brutal dogfight concluded and the Zeros regrouped for their long journey home, Nishizawa noticed his friend's absence, and just like he'd done for his fallen wingman, the pilot broke formation, scouring the enemy-infested skies for any sign of Sakai or more Americans to engage. Fuel running low, he reluctantly returned to base empty-handed. To everyone's astonishment, a gravely wounded Sakai limped back to base and was swiftly evacuated to the mainland for emergency surgery. From that day forward, the tide of war turned against the Japanese, and their elite fighter pilots fell one by one. On October 21st, following an attack on an American plane, pilot Toshio Ota was shot down, his Zero plummeting from the sky. The now lonesome Nishizawa, however, quickly adapted to the evolving American tactics, claiming several victories in October, his tally growing despite the mounting odds. The following month, as his unit regrouped amidst the war's shifting tide, the pilot returned to Japan with 55 confirmed victories. From that point forward, with the Japanese retreat from Guadalcanal, the Allies seized the momentum and never looked back, staying on the offensive throughout the Pacific. During a visit to Sakai in a mainland hospital, Nishizawa expressed his frustration regarding his new role as an instructor and the heavy toll on their comrades, telling Sakai, quote, "It's not as you remember, Saburo. There was nothing I could do. There were just too many enemy planes. Just too many." Tired of teaching, Nishizawa itched to return to combat. By mid-1943, his unit re-entered the fray over New Guinea and the Solomons. Despite mounting challenges, the pilot continued to excel, downing aircraft after aircraft, while his unit suffered heavy losses. As the war ground on and Japan's air forces weakened, records of individual victories became scarce, leaving much of Nishizawa's later accomplishments shrouded in mystery. But fall records suggest his total score stood at an impressive 85. That autumn, Nishizawa received a promotion to warrant officer, but was grounded once again to act as a trainer to the last of the Empire's trainee pilots. While February 1944 saw Nishizawa return to battle, opportunities to engage the enemy had dwindled severely, and the ace struggled to add to his impressive tally. On October 25, 1944, near Luzon, Nishizawa led 3 Zeros, escorting 5 similar models laden with 550-pound bombs. This mission marked a grim turning point, the first official kamikaze attack, where volunteer pilots were to deliberately crash their bomb-armed models into American warships, preferably aircraft carriers. Cutting through nearly 24 Grumman F-6F Hellcats, Nishizawa and his escorts claimed 2 Americans, allowing the kamikaze strike to hit hard, sinking the escort carrier Sanlo. Upon return, as Nishizawa reported the mission's grim success to his superior, Lieutenant Commander Tadashi Nakajima, he made a chilling declaration, volunteering for the next day's kamikaze mission, insisting a premonition told him he would not live beyond a few days. However, as one of the Empire's last great aces, his request was vehemently denied. On the morning of October 26, 1944, Nishizawa and several pilots left Malabacat for Clark Field, Luzon, to collect replacement Zeros. Mid-flight, 2 Hellcats from the carrier Wasp ambushed them. In mere seconds, before the Japanese even knew what hit them, the sky ignited, and enemy fire shredded the bomber, sending it plummeting in a fiery arc. Thus, Hiroyoshi Nishizawa, the legendary Devil of Rabaul, who believed himself invincible in aerial combat, met his end not in the cockpit of a Zero, but as a defenseless passenger. The Empire's High Command posthumously promoted him to Lieutenant Junior grade, and bestowed upon him the name Bukayin Kohan Giko Kyoshi, a Zen Buddhist phrase meaning "in the ocean of the military," reflective of all distinguished pilots, an honored Buddhist person. A quite poignant epitaph for a man once feared as the Devil of Rabaul and the Empire's ultimate ace of aces.